To our correspondent Kim Ghattas, who's in Islamabad for us. Kim, there's been a lot of scepticism and suspicion of Mr. Modi, especially his past. How has Nawaz Sharif's visit to India been received in Pakistan?
Well, Yalda, it's being seen here with as much concern as excitement. Concern because, as you mentioned, Mr. Modi's political positions when he before he was elected, the statements he made sometimes, and his political background, his positions in the past, have been seen here with a lot of concern. He's a Hindu nationalist, and there is some weariness here in Pakistan about that. But there is very clearly a moment of opportunity there, because both Mr. Modi and the Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif have come to power with a very clear mandate. So there is an opportunity, and they both seem to be willing to seize that opportunity. Mr. Sharif was one of the first world leaders to congratulate Mr. Modi. He also immediately invited him to come to Pakistan on a visit. And then Mr. Modi reciprocated quite quickly by including Mr. Sharif in the invitation that he extended to all South Asian countries to come to the inauguration. Now, it did take a few days for Mr. Sharif to accept that invitation. He had to deliberate very carefully. There is, of course, concern here, as we mentioned. There is also tension with the army, which is always very suspicious of any peace moves or messages of friendship towards India. But in the end, Mr. Sharif has gone to Delhi, and as we were just hearing there from our colleague in Delhi, he did describe this as a moment of opportunity. But it is really just the very beginning of that moment, so a glimmer of hope, but a lot of pitfalls still possible.
Indeed, Kim, of course there are issues, sensitive issues like Kashmir and India's belief that, Pakistan harbours terrorism on its soil. So do you think these are issues that will be raised in tomorrow's bilateral talks?
It's possible, but we expect this to be a short bilateral meeting. Mr. Sharif is travelling with a small government delegation. It's really an opportunity for the two men to, in essence, size each other up and, have that friendly handshake. And perhaps what they will try to focus on as a first step to break the ice and create this positive atmosphere is to focus on the economy. There is huge potential, a huge economic potential between the two countries. And that would be one way of bringing the relationship forward slowly, that would demonstrate the benefit of moving in that direction for the people in both countries without alienating the hardliners on both sides, whether in India or here, where, as I mentioned, the move has been described, Mr. Sharif's decision to go to Delhi has been welcomed by many. It's been described as courageous by many, but you have to keep in mind that the army is always suspicious of extending a hand of friendship to India, and they will be watching Mr. Sharif very closely, so he will be treading very cautiously over the next few weeks and months.
Okay, Tim, thanks very much for joining us. Kim Ghattas there in Islamabad.